On that note, I will call this meeting to order at 6:04. I'm about to. Appreciate it. Roll call, please. President Morano.
Present.
Executive Vice President is here. Vice President of Campus Internal Affairs. Here. Vice President of External Affairs. Here. Vice President of Finance. Here. Marketing and Promotions Director is absent. Excused. Personnel Director.
Present.
Average Director is unexcused. Election Director.
Here.
Transfer Non-Traditional Student Director.
Present.
President Pro Tempore Willis.
Here.
Senator Alan Alcantara.
Here.
Good to see you, Senator. Senator Casey Thielhart. Here. Senator Dalton Wilson has class. Senator Des Jackson is excused absent. Senator Giselle Zuna.
Present.
Senator Joshua Lopez is unexcused absent, hopefully unexcused late. Senator Christina David.
Present.
Senator Nick Rio is excused absent, his class. Senator Verna Chan.
Here.
Senator Kaktap.
Here.
Senator Melissa Vargas.
Present.
Senator Nevin Pura.
Present.
Senator Wenyu Chow is excused absent. Senator Aaron Suga will be excused late, hopefully she's out of class in time. Senator Ryan Trento.
Present.
On that note, we have quorum at 10 senators. Moving on to approve the agenda. Are there any amendments to the presented agenda? Yes.
You said, are you changes? Do you want to change it? You said.
Oh, earlier? So the only changes were in the packet and just the finance committee report. We put in the finance agenda because that's all we had at the time, and we just put the numbers as soon as we had it. If you are on the Google Doc and the commentary, she'll share it if you haven't already. It just has numbers in it. Yes, President Morano.
I move to amend the agenda to move my report before the ex officio's report.
Of course.
Thank you.
Is there any objections to that amendment? Oh, yeah. Is there a second to that amendment?
A second.
Thank you. There's a second. Are there any objections? Seeing none, the amendment will be adopted as presented. Is there any objections to adopting perfected agenda?
I said, I feel like I was going to present on the textbook campaign, but I don't know when she's coming. So I don't know if I want to add it under new business or if she'd be from reports for committee chairperson, so she can present about the resolution then, about the campaign. Because I don't want to necessarily add something to new business if I don't know if she's coming or when.
Is it the same thing as textbook resolution?
It's basically just the campaign, like.
Which if you want, you can talk about it during the textbook resolution aspect, which is in
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, perfect. That was a non-motion or any clarification on the agenda, so are there any objections to adopting the agenda as perfected? Seeing none, the agenda will be adopted as perfected. Moving on to approval of the Senate meeting minutes for, which are already being passed around. Please make sure to read and sign it very back. Moving on to ex officio reports. Any members of ex officio wish to report?
We just meant it.
You just perfected it.
What?
Perfected it.
Yeah. Oh, I apologize. Yes. Mr. Ron, I would never forget about you.
Thank you. Okay.
He says that one time. I give the floor, President Morano.
Okay. So the first thing I want to talk about is in January, I emailed all the Senate to let you know about someone named Duff Sondheim coming to talk to UCR, and I asked for your input, and a couple of you have said that you're interested in hearing what he has to say. So basically, he's a former chairman of the California Republican Party who's running for the U.S. Senate seat. So he has been approved to come for Friday at 3 o'clock in this room. And although I can't make it a mandatory event for the senators, I think it would really mean a lot to me if he could come, just so that the room would be full when he speaks with us. I've also asked ECAB to reach out to their fellows and make sure that they can come, and also their office staff and ECAB themselves to come. So I'll send out a reminder email either tonight or tomorrow so that you have the time written down and that you're able to join us Friday at 3. Let's see. The next thing that I wanted to talk about was TAPS. So if you remember last quarter, we did the citation-free parking during finals week. So, I mean, finals are actually quickly approaching in just a couple weeks. So I have another meeting scheduled with the TAPS office for early next week, and we'll be figuring out what we can do differently, mostly marketing. If you remember, I spoke about that earlier this quarter, is that what was really wrong with that project is that we didn't get the word out soon enough. So I have Kat Chang working on a flyer to be done by week 8, and I would really appreciate all of Senate's involvement on this project because I think it really could bring a lot of benefit if more students are aware of it. Also, I mentioned, I think 2 weeks ago, that my first-year fellow, Julia Schemmer, sent out a survey to the campus asking what needs to be addressed. And one of the issues was actually UCR doesn't have overnight parking for if a guest comes to visit, but campuses like UCLA does, where you can pay for like an 8-hour pass. So that's also something I'm going to bring up, so that where you can pay for a space by Lothian or Glenmore, that there would be an option for extended hours for that. And I'm also working with Kat, Tat, and Julia on addressing the classrooms that have the broken desks, chairs, and ceilings. So if you see any classrooms that have any broken equipment or anything like that, please let Kat, myself, or Julia know, because we have a Google Doc started with all those rooms. And I'm working with Jim Sandoval on figuring out who we need to talk to for this, and Jim has supported this initiative, so we're really excited for that. And also, we have a meeting with the Physical Steering Committee coming up, and so that's also where we're going to bring this up. And I really want the senators to be involved with this project as well, since you represent each of your prospective colleges, and it could be a really good thing to represent if you notice that a lot of CMAS classes have something missing. That could be a really good thing. Let's see. The Legacy Path proposal that was brought up a couple months ago, we'll be giving an update to the Alumni Association and hopefully getting support for artwork and benches and all that kind of stuff. So we're really excited about the movement of that project as well. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions for the president? Yes.
For the overnight parking, did you want it just for all of campus or just near the rest halls?
I would want it for all the lots that you pay by space.
Because I know that it's regulated from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. And then my thinking is that since TAPS closes, they don't get to get it overnight.
Yeah, that's true, but they'd have to move their car by 7 in the morning. And I don't know if like a guest would be leaving at 7 in the morning. So although yeah, they could stay there, it also gives them the safety knowing that they could stay in a pay-by-space parking lot. In my experience, when my sister was an undergrad at UCLA, I could go and pay for like an 8-hour permit, and I could stay there till the next morning and not have to worry about a ticket. And so this isn't a solidified project, it's just something that I'm bringing to the table, and I'm hoping that they'll be able to collaborate and give recommendations if this isn't something that's feasible.
Okay.
Sorry, that usually doesn't happen. Senator Correct?
Actually, I think this is a great project because it's not completely true that it's from 10 to 7. Glenmore, it's 24/7 regulation. I know by personal experience. So I think it's a great project. And any space on campus that's like that would be great to move forward.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the president? Seeing none, we will move on to ex officios. Any members of ex officio wish to report at this time?
No,
Commentary?
just to clarify to the judicial, when it's ex officio, you can just come up here.
Okay, thank you.
My first customer, sir.
All right. Like I said, I'm really committed. Hi, as a Falda, I'm with USP, and not missing programs. So I'm sure you've heard plenty about it all quarter, but just a reminder, because next week is the big week. We have it was originally called Immigrant Awareness Week, but we've changed the name to solidify it more to what the workshops entail. And now, by the name is My Shoes, the Undocumented Experience. So we have a full week full of events. Monday, we have our undocumented narrative workshop from 1 to 3. We're really excited to bring a poet from New York, like all the way from New York City, who recently did a TED Talk. Tuesday, we have our mixer here in the hub. We have free food. We're hopefully making shirts. Wednesday, which is I really like the day that I'm stressing the most, is our Coming Out Shadows event out Bell Tower at noon. Please, I really encourage you all to come and attend, show support for the amazing students here who will be publicly speaking. I'll be publicly speaking. When coming out as an undocumented, I'm afraid is a scary thing to do, and to see faces, especially those of the Senate, those that represent the student body, and to show that you're here to support them is great, because that means that that you're here for the students. So I really encourage you all to come out to the Bell Tower 12 to 1 next Wednesday. That's the one thing that I'm encouraging you all to go, if anything at all. And then Thursday we have a collaboration with Chicano Student Programs, Poesía Peligrosa, at the barn from 7 to 9. So come up, check it out. We do spoken word, any kind of poetry, any kind of performance. The theme is migration, immigration. Please come do it. It's great. We really encourage any kind of art to be presented at this event.
Thank you. Any questions for the presenter? All right, seeing none, thank you for your time. Any other issues this time?
Good evening, Senate. I just have a new majority opinion to read to you. It's majority opinion number 6. I'm just going to read it as written. Oscar Loria was appointed as the interim vice president of external affairs by the ASUCR Senate on January 27, 2016, to replace a vacancy created as a result of censure. According to the ASUCR Constitution, Article 4, Section I, vacancies that occur in the executive branch are to be handled as prescribed in the elections bylaws. The elections bylaws, item 5, section A, subsection 1 states, special elections may be called by the Senate to fill vacancies arising in the elected offices of ASUCR if there are no alternates available. This means that the ASUCR Senate is only allowed to fill a vacancy by appointment through special election if there are no alternates available. There are, in fact, alternates available for Vice President of External Affairs position, and these alternates were not considered. Though the vacancy, because it is a result of censure, is temporary by nature, that does not mean it is a vacancy that is referenced in the ASUCR Constitution or the elections bylaws. For the purposes of appointment of an interim officer, a vacancy is the same no matter how it is created, and it must be dealt with according to the process outlined in the elections bylaws. The ASUCR Senate acted unconstitutionally on January 27, 2016, when it voted to appoint Oscar Loera as the interim vice president of external affairs. This appointment is null and void, and proceedings must take place to appoint the proper alternate to the position immediately. Signed today by Chief Justice Simon Ho, Vice Chief Justice Daniel Ojo, Justice Joe Jama, Justice Catherine Pufriel, Justice Gabriel Lopez, and Justice Hayden Jackson.
Justice Jackson, I'm assuming you're not taking questions this time?
I am not.
And the majority opinion, did you send it out yet through via electronic copy?
I will send you an electronic copy that is signed as soon as I can.
And do you have a hard copy?
Sorry?
Do you have a hard copy on
I
you?
do not at this time.
Okay. Can I have that hard copy?
No, unfortunately.
Totally okay.
I will do it as soon as I'm going to go to the library. I'll scan it right now,
I
okay?
appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. Ex officio, thank you.
Andres Medrano with CSP. I just want to thank those of you that participated in today's Unity Hour at CSP. It was a great conversation about unity and diversity. Also, those that attended our Juegos Aslan last Friday, that was very fun. So, just a shout out.
Any questions for ex officio? Seeing none?
I'm Chelsea from RHA. So just a quick update on our upcoming programs. On February 18th this week, AI RHA has an event from 8 to 10 p.m. in the Amber Light. It's called Abergreen, and it's about environmental awareness and sustainability. And next week, on February 23rd, Glenmore RHA and Lothian RHA are having a joint program to celebrate our housing mascot's birthday. There'll be cupcakes, crafts, and they're going to be pieing people, myself included, I believe. And then just a quick reminder for room reservations. If you all would like us to sponsor your event in the form of a room reservation, that still has to be done through the RHA website, so you'll be able to reserve the room yourself. In order to do that, I would need a week's notice through the RHA website, rha.ucr.edu, under resources, and then RHA sponsorship request form. This is so that I can alert our cabinet to let them know that we'll have a guest at our cabinet meeting on Mondays, 9 p.m. in the Petland House Foxhole. Other than that, that's it.
Thank you. Any questions for the ex officio? Seeing none. Any ex officios wish to report at this time? Moving on to public forums. This portion agenda is reserved for anyone in the public who wishes to address this board or any matter that they so choose. Any members of the public to address this board at this time? Seeing none, moving on to reports from committee chairpersons. It's an opportunity for members, for committee chairs to address the board on whatever they're doing in their committees. Seeing no committee chairs, moving on to officer reports. We will start with the executive vice president, since the president was earlier. I will. A couple of things I'm working on is transparency for ASUCR. I've been working to, since judicial, ETAP, and Senate meetings are all on the same Wednesday, I'm trying to get all agendas to be sent out via Near Marcy to our email list at the same time Monday. That way, judicial, ETAP, and Senate agendas are all in the same meeting, as well as posted here at just different times and just as publicly presented, of course. We're also working to get all judicial onto Highlander Link, which I think I already did. Right, Brian? Okay, perfect. All clothes are bought. There have been a couple mistakes. We're fixing that. Nameplates, we ordered nameplates and stands for the new directors as well as for judicial. Some of the projects my office is working on, one of them being is I talked to all of us about a shared drive for institutional memory. It's went through finance for funding this week, and it's on the budget for this agenda. What that means is that all the things that we do that need to be passed on from year to year will be in one spot, and then will be passed on from year to year, hopefully. I'll outline what that looks like later. Interns, I'm working with the internship program to basically set up a list of workshops, training, and tours. The next one is a tour of the art garden. Vice President Kemp Spares, what's his name again? I'm sorry. The art garden. Fortino, I apologize, yeah. Him and Pega are leading a tour of the art garden to interns tomorrow at 11. Any fellows, senators who wish to go see the art garden, I highly encourage you all to go. So one of the things I'm listing for them to go to or hopefully be experienced before the end of this year is a workshop for student advocacy and lobbying, and an organizing workshop separate, conducted through the External Affairs Office, a tour of UCR, as well as a general tour of UCR for all the things that experiences that students don't usually get unless they go out of the way, so going to the top of the bell tower, different campus spots, things like that. Couple of things, I'm working in my office to, I know we have some little logistical problems with some of the computers and office spaces. I'm working with some of my staff to address that. We've started looking at or drafting a proposal of what we want the end-of-year banquet to look like. If anyone wants to jump on board with that, just talk to me or Diana. And lastly, back in the beginning of this year, we talked about you changed the bylaws to have all senators required using a piece of legislation by 24, I believe, as well as spring quarter, I believe, right?
Yeah, at least one by.
Yeah, one per quarter. I will be strongly enforcing that at the end of this quarter, the beginning of the first quarter, by withholding the first stipend if you do not present legislation by that time. If you have ideas to what you want to do or need an idea of what to present on, I'm sure the President Pro Tempore or my office will be more than willing to help you have that. And that concludes my report. Any questions for the presenter? Seeing none, moving on to the Vice President of Campus Internal Affairs.
Good evening, everyone. I'll skip past quite a bit of the office work because I know some of it will be coming up later in the form of a resolution. I want to kind of give a brief thing that I think was actually presented at Judicial earlier today, and that was a recommendation from them on having a constitutional change to the GCAP position. That's something that is ongoing, although I can give you early on that I have a kind of an early endorsement of this idea. This is something that's been around since the GCAP position was created. In my experience, it is like a 12-month position. But this probably speaks more to address of other constitutional changes that should come up. For all of you who have had thoughts or concerns about what could possibly improve our AS Constitution, I think that the time really should be getting urgent for us to work together on that. The deadline is coming up for us to be able to put that on the ballot. So for those of you who had changes in mind, let's please collaborate. The Hub Governing Board. This is actually in follow-up of a report that Senator Katz had made last week in regards to trees that smell a certain type of way on our campus. There is actually good news. Looks like they'll actually be taking quite a few of them out because there will be an expansion of the solar power benches from the Hub, and they will be going along in between Pierce and the Hub, kind of along that stretch, possibly by the bookstore. So all the ones on that stretch are most likely going to be replaced by citrus trees, which is a lot better smelling. Let's see. My first year fellow Jonathan Lee has proposed as part of one of his duties in my office as a first year fellow a CIP or campus improvement proposal. In it, he details a clicker rental program, something that's actually pretty similar to undocumented student programs and how they conduct it as a way to give relief financially to students who are paying $50 for a clicker for something they might only need once in their academic career. There will be more details to come as we fully flesh this out, but to just kind of give you all a heads up, this is something that our office will be taking on. Last is actually a request from you all, and this is in regards to bike share. One of the last steps before this hits the approval process and we start signing the contracts, seeing the bikes on campuses, it needs to have approval from the campus architect on the bike share locations. Now, me being just a solitary, lowly public servant, he hasn't gotten back to me. I would really sincerely appreciate you all. I will share an email with you tonight regarding exact email addresses and maybe like a blurb or whatnot, but just to email a few specific admin in particular to kind of express support for and endorsement of, or essentially a friendly encouragement to please review the bike share locations for approval process so we can get this moving. It has been a couple of months and it has been at that same stage. They may have all the patience in the world, but we only have 1 year. So this is something that is very near and dear to me, and I would appreciate your help on this very much. And and I suppose this just came up from the judicial decision that they kind of just read out to you in a quick thing. We'll talk about this more later, but a censured position isn't a vacated one. How you all voted a couple weeks ago, I don't believe was in violation. It might have been a miscommunication, but we'll talk to judicial to figure this out. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions for the presenter? Let's expect a couple. Let's start with quick queue. We'll start with Senator Tatley, Senator Willis, anyone else? Seeing none, Senator Tatley.
I think it's not more of a question but a comment. On the rentable clickers, I believe that there's a program now in which you can buy a subscription and then use your smartphone as a clicker. So that's something you might want to look into. One of my professors mentioned it at the beginning of the quarter. So
Really?
that's cool.
Wow. Senator Willis.
Okay, so I have, just one thing. Okay, for the solar benches, do you know how many they were planning on purchasing? Because I know when you buy in bulk, like when we bought the first set, they were
Right.
cheaper. Well, that's the first half of the question. How many? Because I would bring it up to GCAP about possibly getting more too, because that's a great thing, and we buy in bulk, we get a better price. And then second question, I don't know if you know this, but do you know if it's going to be the same design as those ones? 'Cause I know that like a big problem that people have had with those is like the lack of shade. I know there was an improved design, but I don't know if it's from the same company or different companies. So do you know if they're using?
Yeah,
different
I have answers to both those questions. There will be, to first answer on the improvements to the solar powered benches. So there will be, along with purchasing the new ones, they will be improving them in large part because the shade was a problem. And there's also one, I'm trying to remember exactly where, right by Subway, if you all have seen it, part of the table has actually been like fallen off. I don't know if it got like hit really hard or something like that, but it's kind of broken. So they'll be refinishing, giving them new wood finishes, expanding the shade to their new design, and that'll kind of be added. I don't know if it's free of charge, but I know it's in addition to the purchase of the solar powered benches. I think they're purchasing 6 more. I don't fact check me on that. I need to double check. But as far as GCAP purchasing additional ones, Uma, the physical planner, will be one of the people you hopefully be emailing in a couple days. Had requested of GCAP to purchase them during the summer, and due to the summer bylaws, we couldn't. We were constricted to be able to make that purchase, so we had to wait till the school year. By the time the school year came around, they'd already purchased them. So I don't know if on the tail end if they're still working that out. We could just like add maybe 1 or 2 more. We can ask, but my understanding is that window has passed.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the Vice President? Seeing none? Yes.
Not really a question, but just like in addition to what he was saying. The solar panel tables, didn't Todd say that the design of the table is different so that it's not just a giant block anymore, it's different wood pieces so that it won't break as easily?
Yeah, different finishes, more durable. I think the kind of wood they got wasn't quite right for our climate. We were one of the first clients of this company, and so we were probably one of the earliest to even bring even a version of what solar powered benches would look like on an industrial size, such as a college campus. So this is an update to what really was a pilot program of our sustainability efforts. So they'll be improved. I like that.
Thank you. Any other questions? If not, moving on to a representative from the External Affairs Office.
What do you?
Huh?
I'm not, well, I'm the Vice President of External Affairs. Okay. Well, the Office of External Affairs has had a few meetings the past 2 weeks. I'm going to highlight the CAPS meeting and the meeting with Caitlin Scheller, our Federal Relations Director. I met with CAPS last week with my CRD FISA to talk about the grade that the UCSA gave them. We asked them a few questions, actually quite a few questions about their services and how they, well, pretty much their services. And we gave them a grade of C-. Our 2 biggest concerns were the time periods and the representation of the staff to the student body. In regards to time periods, the average time period was about 13 days, which we felt was way too long, but they did meet their standards, so they felt that they were doing okay. In terms of the representation of the faculty in CAPS is not representative of the student population here at UCR, so we think that's a problem, but then again, it's very difficult to go about that problem with laws about discrimination, stuff like that. We can't ask them about their sexual orientation, their ethnic background, or any other things like that. But we were able to get some accomplishments out of that meeting. After the meeting, they were willing to add student representation to their next hiring process. So for the first time, I think ever, CAPS is going to have student representation in the interviews when they're deciding who to pick next in terms of like their clinicians and their counselors. I met with Caitlin Schell yesterday to talk about possibly a federal relations program. Earlier in the year, I think, or earlier last year, we dropped USSA, so we don't really have a federal advocacy program of any type in the Office of External. I was hoping to get some money out of it. She wasn't able to give me anything, so that's unfortunate. Jeff Crosshaven will also be there. He's our local affairs government relations guy. We talked a lot about the housing issue here, especially since next year we're expected to bring in 977 new students. UC mandated us to bring 750, and they also asked that we bring an extra 217 or 227, I forget the number. 227 that we didn't accept 2 years ago. So we were 227 students less, or under what we expected to bring in 2014. So that's a huge issue that they're going to have to tackle. That hopefully we're going to get some students on. For HAC, there's a die-in hosted by BSU in solidarity with UC Irvine's BSU a week from today. If y'all can go, that'd be great. Student lobby conference applications came out today, early in the morning, and I urge you all to apply. It's mainly for folks that have lobby experience or that actually understand the issues, as opposed to the other conferences where we were just getting folks that were just interested in learning. This is more centered around folks that actually have experience with these issues. And that's it.
Thank you. Any questions for the officers, external affairs? Seeing none, we'll go on to the next report. We'll start with the non-traditional director.
Is it What did you say?
Non-traditional?
Oh, okay. So right now in my committee, we're working on planning this event called Transfer and Operational Student Awareness Day. And so it's planned to be March 1st, which will be the Tuesday of week 9. And it's going to be 11 to 2 by the Bell Tower lawn. So right now, we're reaching out to different orgs on campus in which transfer and operational students can identify with to see if they're interested in participating. So right now, we're in contact with our kids, Veterans Orgs, Transfer Outreach Program, Transfer Student Association, Sigma, and Students with Disabilities. So we're seeing if they're able to participate and table out there by the Bell Tower with us. And then during the event, we also want to pass out like student success packs. So basically, it's like, you know, like a little bag, and we'll have like stamp pounds and blue books and like snacks and pens that we'll pass out to the transfer and non-traditional students. So what we're going to do is we're going to ask those students to fill out like a little survey where they can let us know of any concerns or issues that they face on campus as being a transfer and non-traditional students that they want the committee to advocate on. Yeah, so basically we just want to raise awareness. And so the transfer and operational students walking by will also be able to see the different works on campus that they don't know of that they can also get involved with. And then the traditional students can also come by and learn about the different works as well. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions for the director? Saying none. Outreach director.
So I've still been in contact with Student Life about hosting the outreach workshop, which should be held next week for week 8. I met up with Jerry Medina, who's been helping me with the process, and he notified me that only risk management is the only department that hasn't responded. So if anything for this to happen, we're going to do it without risk management. Other than that, we have scheduling, Student Life, and ASUCR. Next up, for the undergraduate admissions, I'll be meeting with Alex Ruiz next week to see the statistics of last year's high school applicants to this year's pooled applicants coming to UCR and create a spreadsheet for the next outreach director to see the different pools of ethnic backgrounds coming in. So next year's outreach director will know which org to fund more than the other if needed. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions for the director? Seeing none. Elections director.
All right, so my report is really brief this week. Canvas meetings have changed their time from the last time I presented. They are now Mondays and Tuesdays, 12 to 1, and Thursdays, 3 to 4. I have yet to receive any applications from candidates as of yesterday. And then I'm currently working to collaborate with the Judicial Council to make the elections process and the violations process as smooth as possible. We're really trying to present a united front this year to prevent any kind of antagonistic relationship and to prevent either group from being played off of the other. And so that's ultimately it, just trying to build some bridges, get things taken care of, and that concludes with my report.
Thank you. Any questions for the director? Seeing none. Personnel director.
Hello everyone. So currently I am interviewing applicants for the ASUCR Senate Mentorship Program. We're looking for 4 more, but 2 are getting pulled up from the alternates list from first round. So realistically, I'm only looking for 2 more. Let's see. So in regards to the current interns, they're now attending all the meetings that they need to for their office hours, meeting with the mentors, all of what they're supposed to do. Since now they have the committee meeting time so that they can attend the meetings, and then other duties other than the ASUCR Senate mentorship include sending out the student organized voter access committee applications. They were sent out, I believe, yesterday, and the deadline to apply for that committee is on Sunday at 6 p.m. And I'll be holding interviews for that next week. And then I was also speaking to President Morano in regards to a potential committee. It's going to be called the ASUCR Student Voice Committee, but that's something that we are going to really work on the next 2 weeks, and haven't really quite started on it just yet. I know that she's working with her bylaws with her first year fellow right now. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions for the presenter? Seeing none, we'll move forward in the agenda to pass new business to committee reports. We'll start with the Finance Committee, and I believe it will be good mind parliamentarian. And since it's okay, would you mind putting the screen so I can read it off? Appreciate it. Go down to the opening balance for the org consistency fund is $33,572. Yeah. Irish director, would you mind just? Oh, never mind. You have it. Irish director, would you mind reading the report since?
Reading the finance report?
Yeah, this makes more sense. Never mind, I'll do this right. The organization consistency opening balance $33,572. We'll go through the Nigerian Student Association allocated $1,608 passed. The Korean Campus Crusade Christian Club allocated $1,098. The Phi Kappa Psi grant allocated $1,500. Total org allocations $2,744. Closing balance for organization consistency $30,828. The ASUCR consistency open balance was $4,252. And there was one proposal for a share drive, and we allocated $72. Closing balance $4,180.50. Yes.
One clarification. On the agenda that we were given, there's also another one underneath the ASUCR contingency for the banquet.
Yes. I was the one who put both of those on the agenda, and that was in the agenda for the Finance Committee, which we based that initial report on. We asked to get that part banquet stricken off so we could have more information for the presenter. Yes.
Yeah. So for the share drive, what exactly is it like purchasing?
So the share drive is pretty much purchasing the Google apps so we can pass on the share drive. But pretty much just So what it is, so you know how we use Google Calendar, or Gmails, and you know how we create Google Drive out of those. So what we've been doing as executives or anyone really is everything we do goes in the shared drive ideally, and things that could be useful for next year get lost when someone graduates. That's why Vice President External Affairs has a Vice President External Affairs at gmail.com instead of ASUCR.com when we pass down. It's important institutional memory. What the $70 buys is the Google Apps for the next 6 months or so to as a pilot program. And if it is extremely useful, then we'll establish line item for it in the budget. Any other questions? Yes.
Shafi asked me to say this. He's going to be meeting with ASPB next Tuesday, 2:40 to 3:10. RSVP with him if you want to work them.
Any other questions or any motions? Yes.
This is a question for that. Do you know what the meeting is about?
The budget review.
Okay. Oh yeah. Well, let me take that.
Also,
Yes.
if the money is going strictly to the app itself, how come you're only allocated $72 out of the $360?
So $360 would buy, it's $12 per month. This $360 would have allocated and would have established Shared Drive as a program for us for the next 2 years, plus the end of this year. But finance went into a pilot program of just the end of this year plus a little farther. Yeah, so we got shut down so much. Any other questions? Then any motions for the table?
I'm going to approve the finance report.
Is there a second?
A second.
Second by, motion made to approve the finance report by Senator Corey Willis, seconded by Senator Kaptat. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstain? Votes unanimous, report is approved. Moving on to, please. To LRC, this will discuss, take action on the resolution to mandate nutrition labeling in the dining halls of restaurants. Senator Alcantar or Senator Willis?
Okay, well, so yeah, this was a resolution that, as it says, to require labeling information on all the hub restaurants. So Senator Alcantar, I don't know if you want to speak briefly about this behind.
So a lot of people are starting to become more health conscious here at ASUCR. So I propose this resolution to have nutritional facts in the dining halls in all restaurants at ASUCR, at the hub, the barn, etc., Glenmore. So to also put the macronutrient information as well, because there's a lack thereof. Sometimes there's not even a display of what the food even is. So I think this will help people become more health conscious and choose healthier choices and stuff like that. Since it is the FDA law, and UCR is included in where the FDA says these demands have to take place.
All right, so I'm gonna do it. Okay, I'm not gonna use. Oh, there you go. I'll use the mic. All right. So again, I'm not gonna read the whereases. People are eating larger serving sizes, and rates of obesity, heart disease, and stroke remain high in America. The FDA in 2014 updated their food labeling laws to provide better information of the caloric, sugar, and macronutrient content on food labels. The FDA's goal is to implement the menu labeling provisions of the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act of 2010. The FDA is proposing requirements for providing certain nutrition information for standard menu items in certain chain restaurants and similar retail food establishments. The U.S. FDA is issuing a draft guidance document that will help companies to comply with the menu labeling final rule, which requires that caloric information be listed on menus and menu boards in chain restaurants. I don't know what happened. I can't see the moment to read it. Oh yeah, you want to read it.
And similar retail food establishments with 20 or more locations. Under Title 21, Chapter 1, Subchapter B, Part 101 and 101.9, nutritional labeling of food in the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act of 2010 states that nutritional information related to food shall be provided for all products intended for human consumption and offered for sale. Under Title 21, Chapter 1, Subchapter B, Part 101, states when food is not in package form, the required nutrition labeling information shall be displayed clearly at the point of purchase, on a counter card, sign, tags affixed to the product, or some sort of appropriate device. Alternatively, the required information may be placed in a booklet, loose leaf binder, or other appropriate format that is available at the point of purchase. Title 29, Chapter 1, Chapter B, Part 10, has what food establishments must have in terms of nutritional labeling and serving size, which includes schools such as UCR. UCR dining and hub restaurants do not provide caloric or macronutrient information on their food served. Let it be resolved that UCR dining and hub restaurants put caloric, macronutrient, and serving size to the foods that are served. Let it be resolved that UCR dining and hub restaurants work with the FDA to create these labels for the food served at their respective restaurants. Let it be resolved that UCR dining and hub restaurants provide these nutritional facts to satisfy the needs of students who count their calories, macronutrients for health reasons. Therefore, let it be finally resolved that the associate students of UCR side work with UCR dining and the hub and begin to label nutrition facts, macronutrients, and serving sizes on the food they produce, serve, and sell to the UCR student body and general population.
Thank you. Would you like to make a motion?
Oh, was there any first?
Yes.
Yeah, so this, what I have to bring up doesn't change the meaning of this, but when I was looking through the agenda of this resolution as well as the textbook resolution and comparing that to the past Senate resolutions, a lot of just the way things are worded or capitalized, like whereas something, 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 in your resolution, the first word after whereas or let it be therefore resolved is capitalized. And so just for consistency purposes, can we rewrite those parts? Like, you can do this after it's passed, because it doesn't change the meaning at all, but just for consistency based on like all the resolutions.
Yeah, grammatical changes can be made, amendments, but yeah. We can do it right now.
Yeah, so how do you want it to be also changed? You want it to be everything in all caps, or how do you want the formatting to be? Because that way we can keep it consistent for the rest of this year, just do whatever you want.
Can we do the changes later?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we can. Okay, in which case, Alan, you want to make a motion?
I motion to have my, I move to have my resolution demanding nutritional labeling in the dining halls and hub restaurants.
A second.
There's a second to the motion. The motion is to adopt the resolution. Are there any questions or debate on this resolution? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstain? The vote is again unanimous, and this resolution is passed. Good thing we're here, Senator.
Macros made up. No, they're not.
Next item of business, the essential discussing action of technical. Senator Willis, you have the floor, and if possible, would you like to yield time?
Yeah, so I was going to yield the first bit of my time to Angelica Penn, who's the academic affairs director. I don't know what she does academic affairs. To just sort of give some of the background behind it before we actually go through the resolution itself.
Sure, okay. So, with the UC tuition hike currently underway, the cost to have a decent education is more relevant than ever. This means that students in the future are going to need to pinch even harder on their already tight wallets. There are students at UCR that barely have enough money to meet the minimum requirements to pay for tuition, rent, and perhaps the most appalling, their next meal. This being the current conditions of a good population of this campus, it is the responsibility of ASUCR to ensure that we find a way to help alleviate the stress of these students and ensure the rights of every student of a fair and equal access to education. So, one way to help alleviate the stress is to find low-cost initiatives to combat high textbook costs that have unjustly become part of the common student's curriculum. A part of this problem is the monopoly that 4 major textbook companies hold over the textbooks that students need. Another part is the indifference of professors. Having this resolution passed would ensure that ASUCR is staying true to its values in having an active voice for students and is being transparent with faculty and administration on these issues. With the success of this campaign, we will be able to help fellow students gain the best possible education from UCR. So just a little bit of background of what this resolution entails. I'm hoping that there will be a campaign committee formed that consists of ASUCR senators, CalPERG representatives, and other volunteers from student organizations that want to be involved. The committee will overall be overseen by the chair of academic affairs for next year or
the rest of this year, or an appointed person by the chair. Committee members should be able to meet quorum and will be in charge of instituting checks on the respectful organizations they are a part of. So the responsibility of the committee that I'm hoping will form will be in charge of gathering volunteers, have a checklist of professors to talk about open source initiatives, and e-reserve initiatives. And they will be able to, or I'm hoping they will record the number of prerequisite courses that are available on the e-reserve and I'm hoping that at the end of every quarter they will be updated. And any open source initiatives that are collaborated with Academic Senate or e-reserve initiatives that are collaborated with library administration will be updated or reported during week 5 and week 10 during the quarters and presented to Senate meetings.
Thank you. Any questions for the presenter? Yes.
Do you say you wanted to create a committee for that, or is it like a temporary committee?
Yeah, I would like to create a committee, kind of like a subcommittee under academic affairs. It doesn't have to happen this year, but I'm hoping next year at least, and temporary in the sense that all our goals are accomplished. Until then.
Thank you. Any other questions for the presenter? Seeing none, Senator Willis.
Alright, so resolution in support of alleviating textbook costs for students. Alright, the price of textbooks has increased 82% in the last decade. The average estimated full-time undergraduate books and supplies budget for a public four-year university, according to the College Board, is $1,298 per year. Since the UC system has implemented a tuition hike, we made some changes actually.
It's the one you sent over.
It is. Okay, Angela, would you be okay with tabling this till we get it? Because I know specifically for this, we said the proposed hike, because there's not actually a tuition hike, you put a freeze on there.
Oh, do you want me to read the edited one?
Do you have it?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Okay.
To clarify, does this change the whereas or result?
The whereas.
It's not too big, to be honest. We got to help them to take action on this today.
Okay,
Your call.
I mean, I thought rather should be amended when it's going to be changed.
Oh, so you want me to read it? Okay. Whereas if the UC system implements the proposed tuition hike, costs will rise and affect up to 19,000 undergraduate students. Whereas the private system of textbook companies is led by 4 major companies in the country and therefore have a monopolizing effect on the price of textbooks. Whereas as a public university, it is a prerogative that we help students of all backgrounds and provide for them an equal opportunity. Whereas an open textbook by law and definition is a way for education to be freely dispersed via the internet without infringement on copyright legalities. Whereas these open textbooks are engineered by qualified and educated professionals who have done thorough research on the topics discussed. Whereas we can also look to expanding e-reserves on campus in collaboration with the libraries. Whereas faculty of UCR has also shared a concern of the high price of textbooks. Therefore, let it be resolved, ASUCR Senate supports the use of open source textbooks and expanding e-reserves on campus. Be it further resolved that ASUCR calls on campus student organizations to demonstrate support of these initiatives. Be it further resolved that ASUCR and student organizations collaborate with faculty to consider open source textbooks for students of the university, as well as gaining faculty permission to put necessary general education material on the e-reserves of campus libraries. And be it finally resolved, ASUCR spearheads a textbook alternative campaign that calls on students, faculty, and government representatives to support the use of open source textbooks and more low-cost initiatives to give equal access of education to UCR students.
Thank you. Senator, you make a motion?
I move to approve the resolution, I don't know exactly, the textbook resolution Angela presented.
There's a motion to adopt the textbook resolution. Is there a second? Seconded by Senator David. Is there any debate on this topic? Seeing none. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstain? Seeing none, unanimously adopted. Next item of business. The Senate to discuss the action on Chapter 24 of the bylaws. So go to the floor.
So I believe chapter is the academic.
Yeah.
Yeah, so chapter 24 is again concerning academic. Previously it was conduct standards, but that was struck because all of the stuff regarding conduct and student conduct was unconstitutional. So there are the changes in yellow here, and this was in response, Senator Pereira did some research and actually brought up a good point of some situations that we wanted to make sure those were covered. So that's these changes reflect some possibilities that haven't happened and likely, probably honestly never will, but just to make sure that we have it covered in the event that they do. So under section 3, part A, Kevin. Alright, withdraw from the quarter, regardless of when the withdrawal occurs. Can you make it bigger? Okay, never mind. This is hard. Okay, section 3, part A, withdraw from the quarter, regardless of when the withdrawal occurs, results in a GPA below the minimum required 2.0 GPA, even if the overall quarter GPA would have been above a 2.0. And then section B, or subsection B, members in only credit and no credit courses must receive an S in all courses in order to meet the the required academic standards. So this was the scenario we were talking about, which was in the event perhaps that a student is taking all breadth courses and petitions to have all of them be pass-fail. They technically would have a GPA of 0 on the transcript because those classes obviously don't have a GPA. But since in order to pass them you need a C and you need a solid C that would convert to a 2.0 on the 4.0 scale if they were to get it. So that's why we changed it to just at least receiving the passing grade, even though there would be no GPA. That way it's covered. When Senator Pereira emailed the academic advisors, they said this had never happened. And again, more than likely it won't, but it was just a scenario we wanted to have covered in case it ever did. Under section 4, in the case of academic non-compliance in section 2 and 3 of this bylaw, the act of censure shall be automatically invoked for elected and appointed officials. So that previously it read that appointed officials would be automatically removed from their positions and the vacancy would be filled. And we thought that it was a bit extreme to have appointed officials be held to a higher standard than elected officials being automatically removed with no no process. And so yeah, we just changed it to include all officials should have the same, be treated more or less the same. Section 5. So this was changing it to judicial counsel for appeals, and that's actually, it seems the direction we're moving a lot of things is having appeals be handled more by judicial. So under special circumstances to be determined by the judicial council, a waiver to the academic requirements in sections 2 and 3 of this bylaw may be granted once per academic year per representative by majority vote of the judicial council when quorum is present. So yeah, just shifting some of the power for appeals from Senate to judicial, especially considering that in the event that it is a senator that's put under censure, it could create a conflict of interest to have your peers, more than likely you're going to know the other senators, so to have them wave you off, we thought that it'd be better to have judicial do it since they're more objective and they don't necessarily have the direct communication with the Senate as often. So with that, I move to approve the changes to chapter 24 of the bylaw.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Senator Bosem. The motion on the table is to approve the changes to chapter 24, my apologies, of the bylaws. Are there any questions or debate on this matter? Yes, Senator.
If there's anyone from the gallery who wants to speak on this, am I able to yield my
Your time, of
time?
course.
So if anyone has anything to say about this from the judicial council.
I guess it's just a real quick thing. I'm with judicial council's in full support.
Cool. To clarify, at the next officio, you can come up.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
We're also going to know how the ex officio feels.
Yeah.
Any other one who wishes just any debate or discussion on this matter? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstain? The vote is unanimous and the resolution passes. Moving on to next item on the agenda. Senate shall discuss and take action on chapter 8 of the bylaws. Thank you. Senator Willis.
Okay. So chapter 8, which is stipends and regulations. So the change in here, basically, it used to say percentages because before we switched over to the system we have now, the president, like all the other stipends are based off of the president's own percentage of however much the president made. So I don't know exactly where it is because I can't see it. But later on down, basically just the word percentages, there it is. Under section 5, part B, everywhere it says percentage, it's just changed to stipend level. So just to clarify, it's obviously not a percentage anymore, it's just a stipend. Yeah, that's the same changes in section 6. In addition, so yeah, and as it goes down, we also added, because we have a new director position now, and we'd like her to get paid, we added the transfer non-traditional director, student director to the list of stipends to make sure that it's in the bylaw that they do get their money, along with, you can see right below that, the Associated Students Office was changed to Program Board, because the ASPB, that's what it's referred to. I assume this was written when they were called a program office, but yeah, now it's the ASPB. Again, yeah, just changing percentage level of the stipend in each set division, yeah. Presented on increasing and changing stipends, so this details a bit. Okay, can you scroll down a little? Okay, so you can, under addition and deletion of stipends, we actually, the process outlined in section 7 is followed, so for adding it, so it's basically just making sure that you're reading about the previous section, and Senator Talley actually had a question on this.
Okay, so if we were to do this and take this section out, the or when Senate deems appropriate, it would just read as similarly no position may be added to subsection, or section 6, subsection C and D here, except at the beginning of a fiscal year. And it's not the beginning of a fiscal year, therefore we wouldn't be able to add her stipend.
Yes, that's actually something that I didn't notice that particular, at the beginning of the fiscal year part, I just noticed the actual change. So yeah, that would actually be something to bring up, which would be that, or changing it back to just or when Senate deems appropriate, because that would give Senate the discretion to be able to do it like right now if we wanted to. So would it be possible that does change, can I unstrike that?
You can make any amendments, there hasn't been anything proposed, there's been no motion, so I don't know.
Okay, so with that, actually, I move to change or undo the striking of or when Senate deems appropriate under section 8. I move to amend the amendment by unstriking the section that was stricken of Senate being able to deem appropriate to add position.
I second.
There's a second. Is there any discussion on this amendment, to the amendment? Seeing none, are there any objections to amending the proposed amendment? Seeing none again, the amendment will be amended as suggested. Senator Wilson?
Okay, there. So that's the big section. Oh, I'm sorry. So this is right. I need to see the yellow part. To go to the changes. Never mind. Okay, section 8 under E. For additions, justification is needed as well as a job description with duties clearly defined. In the case of a non-paid position becoming paid, justification for pay and updated job description with additional duties must be completed. These additions must be approved through the ASUCR Finance Committee and added to the finance report for Senate approval. So for this, it's basically saying that if you're going to create, or if a position was previously unpaid is going to get paid, with that increase in money, there should also be an increase in the duties that they're doing. They shouldn't get paid to do the same amount of things that they weren't getting paid before. And the same for additions. Yeah, you couldn't just create a position. There need to be like clearly defined roles for that position, so we know exactly why they're getting paid and what work they're doing to get that. So section 9 again, just changing percentage to stipend, and that is it. Chapter 8, yes.
Any last questions for the presenter? Seeing none, Senator Wallace.
I move to approve the changes to chapter 8 of the bylaws.
I second that. There's a second by Senator Theobald. Last call for discussion and debate. Seeing none, senators, all in favor of approving the amendment to the bylaws? Any opposed? Any abstain? Seeing none, the vote is unanimous and the amendment is adopted. Moving on to Senate, shall discuss and take action on part 2 of the election bylaws.
Okay, yeah, this one's super brief. It's literally just adding the transfer non-traditional student directory. So I move to approve the changes to the election code.
Is there a second? Second by Senator Alcantara. Any questions or debate? Seeing none, all in favor of adopting this amendment? Any opposed? Any abstain? Seeing none again, this is unanimous and vote passes. Moving on to public comment. Any members of the public wish to address the board, anything that happens to me, please, of course.
So I'm Susan Elmore, Assistant Vice Chancellor of Health and Wellness, and I just wanted to thank you for meeting with CAPS and sharing some feedback from students and the CSA. And I just wanted to also share some augmentation to your report. We've been working really hard to make sure that student needs are met in a diligent, responsive way. And we're working right now on augmenting the CAPS staff by 6 psychotherapists. And we are particularly shaping the recruitments for those psychotherapists with the populations that reflect our demographic as lenses for people to hire. So we're asking for people that have African American experience, like Chicano Latino experience, LGBT experience, and expertise and clinical work to particularly apply for those roles. We also have and will continue to hire, always have a proactive approach to hiring people, both from diverse backgrounds, but also that have a robust multicultural competence. And we would not hire anybody who didn't meet that bar. So we feel that our staff is reasonably diverse and very highly competent in terms of dealing with our student body. The other thing I wanted to let you know is that we did start beginning in the summer to include students in the recruitments, and we didn't have a lot of response from the invitation for students to participate. So we're very, very interested in having more active participation from students in the recruitments and having student feedback be a regular part of the way that we hire. So thank you.
Any questions for the presenter? Actually, real quick, sorry.
Yes, sir.
Susie. So you mentioned there was a lot of student input on, what was the last part I missed that part?
Well, so when we you know, in previous years, we had not particularly invited to students to meet candidates that were clinical psychologist candidates. So beginning this summer, what we did is we had a meeting that was scheduled for open forum, and then we also had a special lunch kind of a thing, and we extended the invitation to multiple student groups, and we had interest but no participation. So we want to, you know, have you help us brainstorm about how do we actually get students to come and meet the clinicians and help us make our informed decisions.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
There are no questions for the members of the public, right? Seeing none, any other public comment?
I just wanted to point out, and as some of you all may know, you know, the racist comments that were made on Facebook toward Daniel Lopez, you know. I just wanted that, you know, I wanted to know who is a part of that subcommittee, and I want to know what's going on to address that issue, because, you know, Daniel Lopez was a big time proponent of the food safety, you know, here on campus, so I just wanted to point that out. You know?
There are a couple of people who wish to address this. We'll start a queue, but Vice President of Campus Internal Affairs, I'll let you start if you wish.
I didn't have my hand up.
Well, maybe it's just your office. Senator Willis?
Yeah, I believe she was the chair.
Vice Chair.
Have you been able to talk to Daniel recently?
I have. Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
He and I have already discussed, he actually has already talked to the person that was taking notes for that time. This is something that I'm already actively working to address, and I have kept up communication with him, I feel, pretty thoroughly, and I believe at this point he and I are on the same page as far as where that microaggression originated from and how we can best address it, and I'm further incorporating elements, introducing intersectionality into my presentation to the candidates for next year. And so there's already steps being taken to address what has occurred. And so you might want to keep up to date with him on what everything that's happening, he's being made aware of.
Okay, I just bring it up because, you know, there's committees that, you know, like, for example, Diversity Council. You know, we you know, we're here to promote diversity within the campus, but then again, you know, like if ASUCR, you know, has its hand in that and they're promoting this kind of stuff and this kind of stuff keeps going on, what good is it? You know, what good is it to be under ASUCR?
Thank you. There are a couple hands who, anyone else wish to address the ex officio? We'll do it real quick with Senator Bosa, then Senator Katat.
Corey Willis is third.
What did you say?
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, I was doing this. Senator Bosa, Senator Katat, Senator Ozuna, then I went in the queue there.
I just want clarification. You mentioned Facebook, because I think I'm somewhat aware of the situation, but I don't know if you're referring to what happened.
Oh,
at
okay,
the
yeah.
meeting or something
It
take
was
place
the
after.
minutes. It's because he posted it on Facebook. That's where I got it from. So I asked him about it. It was on minutes, you know, and it was like a reference to they calling him George Lopez instead of Daniel Lopez. I'm pretty sure, you know, he was a chair.
Yeah. I would just, this is more of a comment to Melina, I would just be very careful in calling it a microaggression because I think it was completely, actually, we'll talk later. I mean, all right, yeah. Just, I think it was an utter mistake, and I don't think there was any racial intention or racial subconscious bias. If you were to talk to the person who actually made the mistake, I think you would come quick to that conclusion as well. We need to be very mindful of the language we use because we might perpetuate some false narratives.
There's a reason it's that.
But that was all I have to say.
Senator Katat.
I just wanted clarification on the situation. I wasn't aware of exactly what happened, but is there anything, like any other clarifying details that you can tell
Okay,
us?
so he on the minutes that were, I guess, distributed for all the members of the subcommittee, the Food and Safety Subcommittee, he was referenced as George Lopez instead of Daniel Lopez, and I mean, according, you know, what I've talked to him, he was a chair, you know, and he saw that as, you know, as an aggression towards him. So I talked to him last Thursday, and he said he resigned from his position, and I think that's unfortunate because, you know, he was a leading advocate for these issues here on campus. So I just want to point that out and bring this up here because, I mean, because it's something as simple. I mean, I know what you're saying, you know, I need to go back and see, but something so simple, you know, a leading advocate is done. He's done with that. What's up with that?
No, I definitely, I think we all speak for all of us, so we appreciate you bringing that to our attention. But we'll talk after.
Yeah.
Appreciate it again. We'll make this fast, keep your comments brief. Was there anything else you wanted to ask, Senator Katat?
No, I don't know about anyone else on the horseshoe, but I'm pretty sure a lot of us aren't aware of what happened, so I don't want you to take this as like, we know about it and we're not doing anything about it. Most of us have no idea what's
Your comments well taken, and holding us accountable and bringing this to our notice is something that is well appreciated. Senator Zuna.
Can I give my time just some comments?
Yeah, she's on the queue. Senator.
I mean, just real quick, I just wanted to basically, thank you for bringing it up. I reached out to Daniel as well, and we spoke a little bit about it. And yeah, it's like Delshon mentioned, like, it wasn't the intent, but yeah, unfortunately we don't live in a world of intention, it's a world of like actual things. So it's very unfortunate that like happened, and especially like you mentioned, he's been one of, if not the leading person in food security on this campus. So I know he'll still continue to work on the issue regardless, but yeah, it is unfortunate that happened. And if he's already, like you mentioned, he's there, he spoke with the person that wrote the minutes, then we just hope, or not even hope, like this shouldn't ever happen again.
Senator Vargas.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I'm sorry that happened. I actually just found out, like I went on his Facebook to see it and I must have not seen it. But we'll definitely look into it and we'll see who was taking minutes at that meeting and see what we can do.
Election Director.
All right, well, just to address what was just said, like there's already been some digging that's gone on, and I'm more than happy to share that with Senate later. Since you talked to him last Thursday, there's been a lot of conversations that have gone on, and so
I just feel, since ASUCR is a governing body of students, and that committee is under ASUCR, there should be some sort of accountability. We should see what's going on, why did that happen, ASUCR should be accountable.
He's been made aware of why it happened and how it happened in the process. So as far as getting that disseminated out, I essentially left that to his discretion as far as how much he wanted to share in that. But, I'm more than happy to write something out for everyone, including the horseshoe, to make sure everyone's on the same page.
Thank you. Last call, say anything about it, last call.
I think it should be noted though that we shouldn't make this just about that one issue, because having read the email from Daniel of why he did resign, it's not really just that one issue, it's a continued issue that he's had with ASUCR. And I think that means that we as a body need to work to make sure that we are more open and more tolerant to all those that come around, and make sure that no one feels that the ASUCR office is not a safe space for them to be at, that it's a office that's open for all the students here, because we are advocates for the student body as a whole.
Thank you. Thank you again for bringing this up. Any other members of the public wish to address this board this time? Seeing none, moving forward to roundtable announcements. Senator Bosan, you
So I emailed Dean Pena, so for the Chaz senators who haven't met the meeting, hopefully next week. I just emailed her today, she hasn't gotten back to me. So it'll be tentatively just myself and Senator Steelhart, but if you're interested in being a part of that meeting, just let me know and I'll let you know the times. I haven't gotten anything back from that yet. Also, Kanye's album's lit.
FMN was also broke.
Oh, yeah.
So I know that this week is for officer reports, and I know that some people have questions regarding like the format, and all we wanted was just in a Google Doc rather than attached onto the email. And instead of having just bullet points, having also subheadings for your particular project, that way it'll be easier for the staff to go with this. Other than that.
Thank you. Do you have a question? No. Pass.
Happy birthday, Brenna.
Thank you. Yeah, that's going to be mine.
Happy birthday, Brenna.
No, I don't.
Happy birthday, Verna.
Thank you.
Let's just get it.
Speak after. Order please. Who's next?
Happy birthday.
I just want to reiterate that my candidates meetings are Mondays, Tuesdays, 12 to 1, and Thursdays, 3 to 4. After the end of week 10, I will not be hosting anymore. Anyone who has not attended a meeting will not be eligible. No exceptions. And other than that, happy birthday and feel good.
Pass.
You'll get my report tonight, Chrissy. Thanks for reminding me.
It's only a friendly.
Of course. On that note, it is 7:22. May I motion to adjourn, please?
Motion to adjourn. Move to adjourn.
Senator moves to adjourn the meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?